You know,
Well, no, you can be honest. We love for you.
Wait. Like what, Bill?
Yeah. Well, because
No, maybe not. Maybe I'm just joking.
I was under the impression that only white people are racist. So,
Remember?
He's
We learned
okay.
that a couple episodes ago.
so that's why he's been on both sides. That's
Yeah.
why-
It's the white side. That's
my white side, maybe just judge the side.
Welcome to the Not Offended Podcast. It's so good for you guys to be with us. It's always an honor and a privilege to be with you. I'm sitting next to the agent. And by the way, just real quick, he does have a name. His name is Bill Richardson. And be careful when you're out and about. If you do see him and you say hi to him, the agent, it sounds very, very close to like the Asian. And not that Bill minds. Bill don't mind.
He is
but
Asian.
But he is Asian, yes.
Asian, yep.
But somebody might take that a little offensively, even though it's the Not Offended Podcast. Across from me, we got Mike Cook, we call him the Token, and we got Deshaun Caraway, we call him the Bishop. And they prefer that if you do see them, that you call them by their real names, which is Mike and Deshaun. But I say for the rest of us, I don't care what you call me.
I don't mind.
If you're out and about and you happen to see us, come talk to us. We'd love to chit-chat. And we just want to thank everybody who's been tuning in. Mike was sharing a story that he got stopped by a parent at a T-ball. Were you at a T-ball game or what was going on?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't get stopped. My mother-in-law overheard a conversation. I'm like, man, how do they know who I am? You know, they must have been tuning into the podcast. So
I out of all places, I was at I don't know, is it Sprouts? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Is it Sprouts?
oh, maybe you guys shopped around.
No, I don't.
Whole Foods, you know.
Oh, okay, yeah, of course. Doesn't I look like I shop at Whole Foods? But I went because my wife wanted to go, and somebody had stopped me, and they go, "Hey, are you the pastor? Are you Pastor Flores, or do you have that podcast?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's actually me." So if you do see us, we'd love to chit chat. We'd love to talk about what's going on, and we want to thank everybody for tuning in, and also we want to thank everybody for sharing it. I was just up in Ukiah this weekend, and it was crazy because this guy, I can't remember where he lives, but he lives an hour outside of Ukiah, up in the hills, and he goes, I actually heard about you guys and what's going on because I'm originally from Bakersfield, so I still get some local news down there. And he goes, when I heard about what was going on, I Googled you, and I always get nervous when people say they Google me because there's not too many good things about me on Google. And he said, but I found your podcast. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And so he told me he's listened to the episodes and that it's gone really well. So I think, man, it just gets out there. And it's all because of you guys. We appreciate it, all the hard work that you do in getting it out there and letting people know what's going on. So, hey, let's talk about something. Let's get right into it. So Bishop was in the house. He preached a word talking about identity. Deshaun, tell me how you felt it went. How do you think you did? Don't be too hard on yourself, but how do you feel like you did?
It went okay. Yeah,
Can we get a 1 to 10? Can we get a 1 to 10?
Oh, I don't know. I can't rate myself.
Okay. Have you heard yourself yet? Did you go back and watch the sermon?
No, I hate the sound of my voice.
Okay.
So I didn't go back.
Okay, but you got to go back.
Maybe one day.
Okay.
Right now I can't do it.
Okay, we'll go. Mike, how you feel the Bishop did, Mike? What you got?
I thought he did great. Yeah,
Okay.
I thought the response was really good, and I think that it just hit home for a lot of people.
All right.
Who told you that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Such a catchy title. Who told you that?
Yeah.
And so, man, I give you a 10.
Yeah,
Ooh,
there you go.
Hey, I feel like we should be judges right now. Everybody, hold up the number 10.
Nah, Deshaun crushed it, man. He's just being humble right now. I told him earlier that we need to have you preach more often, man, because you hit us with the fire hose.
Oh, there you
Yeah, the next time I'm up, dude, you could preach.
No, every 6 months, that's a good rhythm.
That should have been a 6-part series, man. So you hit us with a lot of stuff yesterday. So it was
Okay,
really good.
but just so everybody knows, Bill, I'm glad you said that. I'm glad. That's why we have the agent around right here, right? I try to get these guys. I'm looking right in the camera. I'm letting y'all know. I try to get these guys to preach more, and they always pass the buck back to me. They're like, "Nah, Pastor, you do such a good job. You preach more." I'm like, "The brother needs a break over here," and I try to get these guys, and they won't do it. They're just like, no, Pastor, you're doing so good. You're doing so good.
That's not true.
And then they fight over who goes. Like Mike just did. Hey,
Okay,
Deshaun, you
that
did so
part
good.
is true.
Deshaun, you did so good. I'm going to go ahead and let you do it again, Deshaun.
That part is true.
I know it's true.
But we try to give you reprieve.
Oh, reprieve. Oh, word of the day.
Oh, there you
Reprieve. That's good.
I don't even know
Sponsored
if
to
that-
you by Webster's Dictionary. Reprieve.
I don't know if that's
Somebody
the right
in the
word.
comments should really put in the definition.
The
I try
break. We try to give you a break.
Just one rule. Just don't put me up there, all right? That's it. You don't want to hear that.
I was even talking about it today. Hey, I'm supposed to be on this date, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll play it by ear."
Yep.
Well, that's because I'm going to take my breaks. I don't want to burn y'all
okay.
out. That's
All
what
right.
I'm thinking. Right? So, hey, I tell you what, Deshaun, we had an opportunity to listen to your message. I had the longest drive home ever. And can I just say something? I don't know if I'm the only one, but y'all can chime in on this part too. So normally my wife and I have a rhythm when we drive. And it's one of those deals where if she's speaking, then I'll drive so she can rest, right? A little stressful driving, especially if you're going through the bay. Right? And so if I'm speaking, then she'll drive, and whoever spoke, the person will drive home because the other person's probably a little tired, right? So yesterday, we're leaving Ukiah. She starts off driving, and I look over, and I'm like, hey, you look tired. And I passed out for like a solid like little 20-minute power nap. I look over, and I'm like, you look tired. She goes, oh, I'm super tired. I'm like, all right, well, just pull over, and I'll drive the rest of the way. And so we pull over just right outside Santa Rosa, and she gets her pillow, she hops over, and man, we ain't 5 minutes into the ride, and she is passed out, like just gone. Does that not frustrate anybody else besides me? I'm like, man, I'm over here stuck in traffic. I'm just looking over, and she like that, and I'm like, I was just so like, oh man, I was just so upset. I was like, here I am stuck in traffic, and she looks as comfortable as all get out, like the piece of Jesus is all over, and I'm like, man, does that happen to you guys when you drive? Does people pass out?
The co-pilot's asleep.
The co-pilot is asleep.
I
Hey,
don't care.
I will say this: Deshaun's a great co-pilot. He'll never fall asleep.
Is that true?
Okay.
Oh yeah, I always stay awake.
How do you not fall asleep?
I don't know. I like to look out the window. I like seeing stuff.
Hey, I don't mind.
Bro.
I don't mind driving with him because I know he'll stay awake. But like my wife, out.
Gone.
And
Kids,
it's like, oh,
gone.
that looks great. I wish
Doesn't it?
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So then that's when you go over the little bumps. And you say,
Now I can drive forever if I have my Red Bull and my seeds. I'm good.
Bro, hold on.
We were
Yeah.
talking about earlier driving back from Seattle all the way back. It was like 14 hours.
It
straight
is,
gone.
yeah.
Did it.
you
No
did it
problem.
straight, no
Yep.
problem. Okay, what is it with you and your Red Bull and your sunflower seeds?
Oh, I don't. It's sunflower seeds from baseball for sure. Always
This guy.
chewing seeds, but
We drove back and forth from LA, and he had his cup, his seeds, and his Red Bull. I'm like, bro, you look like you're just at a game right now.
well,
or
at least he
something.
didn't have a dip. I
Yeah,
mean, he wasn't dipping.
No, he gave up the chewing. Okay. The
never
dip, the
started
dip's
chewing.
gone.
One time, that's it. Threw up. That
No.
was it.
Your
more
Sandlot moment.
It was
That
all
was
about
it.
Kodiak, baby. It was all. That's it. That's what you chew. Football players chew too. I don't know what to tell you. It wasn't just a baseball thing, all right? But Deshaun, going back to your message. So I'm listening to your message, and I thought you did a phenomenal job, right? So if I had to hold up, I'd hold up a 10 for you too.
Appreciate it.
I don't know why you're so hard on yourself, but I thought you did really good. And matter of fact, you did so good. I want to touch on a little bit of what you talked about, but I'm going to do that a little bit later in the podcast, okay? So I want to talk about something that I found was interesting because I feel like we might be prophetic here at the Not Offended podcast because the series right now going on in basketball, we're talking sports real quick, it's looking like it could be Golden State and it could be the Celtics here. Now, it a lot depends on what happens tonight, right, on that Celtic game. Do they even it up or do they go down 3-1? But I feel pretty good. It's a puncher's chance, and we're looking like we're some pretty good odds makers over here. So, correct me if I'm wrong. If it's the Celtics Warriors, you got to go to a game, right?
No, it was
Bucks.
Celtics Bucks. That was who
Woo!
I had. So I
The
was
Lord
wrong. I'm not
has
prophetic.
spared
I
you.
don't have that, so yeah, Celtics Bucks was my pick, but Celtics Warriors could be very interesting at this point.
How are you guys feeling over there? I mean, you guys feeling like it's going to
Oh,
be that?
well, if Celtics lose tonight, it's over.
Okay, it's that simple.
That's easy. Yeah, that's easy.
That's simple. They're not coming down 3-1.
No, they got to win tonight.
Okay, what are you thinking, Bishop?
Oh, I'm going for Celtics. I am not going for the Celtics. I'm going for the Miami Heat and Golden State.
See, I thought your first answer was prophetic from the Lord.
No,
And I think
no.
the second one, it was the flesh.
No, the Celtics are overrated. They ain't that great.
Wow.
So
Wow. He threw out the
He
overrated
hates,
card.
He hates their franchise.
Yeah.
Give us the you were talking about a week ago or something about the championships.
oh yeah,
Something happened.
in my lifetime, the Celtics have won one championship.
Wow, how old are you?
30 something.
One championship,
35,
Pastor.
36.
Yeah. So all those
So all
championships.
those great the titles, how great they are. I'm like, before I was born, baby, but I ain't seen nothing. They ain't that great.
Shots
the Warriors, on the
fired
other
over here.
hand, man, they've been great. Steph Curry, great. I mean, he played amazing yesterday. So
Well, I don't have an answer for you because you are right. They've only won one. I was living in Fresno. Shout out to my boy Steve Hosey. I was at his house watching that game when we won it, and it was glorious. It was beautiful. I had a moment. Maybe even shed a tear. I don't know. But you're right. It has been a rough go. But I just want to remind all true Celtics fans. Okay, Celtics fans, hear me out. We were doing good up until the tragedy of Len Bias. Len Bias died. And
When was that? That was the 80s?
it was, okay? We were rebuilding right after the Bird and McHale and all that, right? I'm just saying
You're
those
like
early
in
90s.
6th grade.
Yo, easy, okay? You don't got to point out I'm the oldest person on this panel, right? But the point is we had a moment, and then we had tragedy, and then the rest went downhill. But the point is we're on the comeback right now. We're looking good. So shout out to Mike's coach over there, right, from Portland.
Yep.
So we're doing good. So I want to dive right into something that we have to dive into because it's that time of year. I have a question, though, that I want to lead off with, and it's going to run right into your sermon, which is this. Why are pastors specifically, and even maybe a good portion of church members, maybe not, maybe half and half, maybe 50-50, why are they so afraid to talk church and politics? Why are we so afraid to talk church in politics? Anybody want to start us off with that? Like what's the initial feeling you have? What's the initial response?
I mean, I know even yesterday when in my sermon I partially alluded to a few things about abortion and things like that.
Okay.
And my goal was second service I had to actually say it, but you won't see that on video because I made it seem unclear where we stand, so I had to come out and straight up say like, hey, no, we don't support abortion. That's a human life. But the reason I didn't want to really say that explicitly in the service, I wanted to be sort of vague, is because automatically that brings division among people.
Right.
And my goal wasn't to talk about abortion in that moment. My goal was for people just to know, like, this is who God called you to be. And once they can understand that, then things change. But yeah, it can be so divisive right away. Like if you say Democrat or Republican, right away if you say you're Republican, people have a view of you immediately. That automatically, especially like Mike had mentioned, if he says Republican, he's automatically racist. Period. Doesn't matter what he does, that's just what he's labeled. So that's what happens with politics right away. Like you get labeled something. So it makes it difficult to communicate with people in that way.
Yeah, we're going to get back to your comment. I wanted to talk about that specifically because you brought up some Jewish tradition. So we're going to circle back to that. But Mike, do you have a thought about why is this so? I mean, you and I are not from church. Bill, you could chime in on this too. I've even known, even when I was in the world, people didn't want to talk, religion and politics. So it's crazy because now you're in the church and sooner or later you're going to be forced to talk politics, right? So what do you think the tension is there, especially as an outsider looking in?
Yeah, well, I think even as a pastor, it's a fine line between people looking at you almost like a cult leader. If you're telling people,
I've never had anybody say that to me before.
this week,
Yeah, right.
week's still early,
Yeah.
but it's like you're telling people how to vote,
Okay.
right? Or like you're leading people politically and spiritually.
Okay.
And so there's already this kind of negative connotation when it comes to pastors that we have to fight, that there's this pre-label as it is.
Right.
And then you start mixing in politics and it becomes very like, look, you're telling people how to live their lives. You're telling people how to do these things. And so that's why even yesterday when I was trying to introduce Courtney, I thought it would be important for people to know, like, hey, if you don't like her, don't vote for her.
Right.
Like, but this is your vote. We're not telling you how to vote.
We're just showing you the options.
We're giving you an option. We're highlighting a person who has a biblical stance on politics because we align in that way as well.
Okay, let's dive into that. So you meet politicians who say they are Christians, but I think they're a politician who's a Christian instead of they're a Christian who happens to be a politician.
But you'll find that there are
We're not gonna say any names though right now. We're not
Right.
gonna say any names.
Right.
We're gonna keep it kosher on this one. We're gonna keep it on the down low, right?
Yeah, you'll find politicians who have to explain themselves to be spiritual people.
Okay.
They'll say stuff like, I'm spiritual,
Okay.
which, like, what exactly does that mean?
I'm not sure.
We got the Holy Spirit. We know there's other spirits too. So, like, which spirit? Anyway, so
Spiritual.
spiritual. And so they have to explain themselves because in reality, if you have to explain yourself,
You in
then you're
trouble.
a politician's first.
Right. You in trouble.
and we see that just even in our local government.
Now, go ahead, Bill. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
let me hear
for
you.
me, I think there's kind of a unwritten rule out there that,
right.
you know, even at the dinner table, you don't talk politics, right?
Right.
And so, but what happens is if you're not talking on these issues or communicating on them, then you don't get involved, right? And so if you're not around it,
That's a
even
good
the
point.
family and around the church, then the church stops getting involved. And
Do you
so-
feel like there's been an abdication, an absence, a vacuum of the church being involved in politics?
Sure, because again, we don't touch that subject.
Okay, but can I ask a question? Why can't we talk about politics? You said, you know, that's something that at the dinner table we
can't.
don't talk about politics. Like
You can,
You can, but here's
but people
that.
just feel like it's taboo.
No, I no, but unfortunately, I do think that we live in a society where you can't. So I was talking to my moms about this, right? We don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff politically, but I feel like my moms came from a generation where they could still have friends
Yes.
that didn't
Yes.
believe the same way.
Yeah, I can answer. Let me take a stab at that real quick, okay? And I want you to get back to it. Something changed where all of a sudden, when we started talking about accepting people, we had to affirm, and that didn't used to exist. You could accept somebody and not affirm what they're doing. And so the best way I could put it is like I have family members who I accept them as my family members. I love them. I care for them, but I don't affirm what they're doing. One of them is a hardcore drug addict. I do not condone that. I do not sign off on that, but I still love them. I still accept them as a family member. But something happened where we had to automatically affirm whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. And if we didn't, then we didn't truly love them. And so we put a different definition on love than what had ever existed before. And that's what has slowly but surely permeated through the church. It slowly but surely crept its way into the church. And now you got people like, oh, you don't love me because, you know, you say you accept me, but you don't affirm, you know, this, that, or the other. And it's like, no, hold on, wait a minute. Wait, this is your 7th go around right now. And you still ain't no better. I do love you. There is always a place here for you. I care for you. I want to help you, but I ain't signing off on what you're doing. And to me, in my opinion, in Anthony Paul's opinion, that right there is a low level love. That's an immature, incomplete love, because Jesus does not do that. What do we always say here? He accepts you just as you are, but he loves you too much to allow you to stay that way. You need to be transformed, metamorphosed, right? You need to be transformed into the image of God. You're a kingdom child first now. You're a kingdom baby now. And now you got to live changed. And I think that's what's happened. That's just me. I don't know. You were.
Yeah, but it goes back to the division that it creates. Like,
Right.
Like politics is so divisive right now. And I don't know if it's just people are so soft or whatever it is that where you can't have a differing view and still be friends. Because I was thinking about
if you have a different view, you hate me. That's
Yeah,
the
but-
view. You have a different view, you hate me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane. 'Cause
If I hate you, it's not because we don't see eye to eye.
Hey, we can see
It's,
eye to
it's
eye,
for
I
some,
can still
yeah,
hate
it's
you.
for
Yeah,
some other
it's
stuff.
True. That's true. But see, you were gonna say. Go ahead. You were gonna say.
No, and a big thing, I think people, they care about people's feelings more than the truth.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And it's like, your feelings doesn't change the truth. Now, I can give the truth in a different way.
Yeah, you don't have to be a jerk about it.
Yeah, I don't have to be a jerk about it. I can give
Right.
you a different way, but it doesn't change the truth. I don't care how you feel. That doesn't matter, because you might feel different in another hour. So I got to change the truth again? No, the truth stays the same, and your feelings just have to adjust with it. You have to deal with it. But we want to cater to everyone's feelings, because I feel this way or I feel hurt. Well, I'm sorry you feel hurt. We can work through that, but the truth is still the truth, period. But people just don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
No,
couldn't agree more. Yeah.
I agree with that. I got nothing to add to that for sure.
So let's just dive right into it, since now we've definitely got ourselves into this now, right? I think you brought up a very good point about abortion. I have never seen such, and I don't mean this in a rude way. I'm just going to say it in a truthful way, but I'm going to try to be very statesman about it. I've never seen such a yellow streak, a cowardice streak in the church when it comes to abortion than I have in this time, in this era. I can't believe, because this needs to be foundational. We are an extension and continuation of the Jewish faith. Yep. If you are a Bible believing person, your roots are just immersed in Judaism. You are grafted in by the grace of God. But that graft that you're in on the root system, the stump, the trunk, if we could say that, of Judaism. And you brought up a very interesting. I was funny because I thought you must have been listening to our rabbi. Shout out to Rabbi Wobbly right here. He don't even know we exist, but it's all right because I love that guy. Because that's a very Jewish tradition, oral Jewish tradition, right? But they do get it out of Psalms. But I'm going to take it a step further because you said yesterday, and I quote, that when you're a baby, knitted and formed in your mother's womb, by the way, 2 genders, male and female, let's just get that out there too while we're at it. They already say everything about us. And thank you, Mike, for repping the shirt, right? Half holy, half hood. They already say it, so we might as well get it out there. When you're in your mother's womb, not a birthing person's womb, a mother's womb, right? Then that is so true that we are in perfect harmony with the Holy Spirit, with our Creator God. I love your comment about child of God. That's good too yesterday. And they say that you already know Torah. You already know the law. You already know what you're supposed to be doing. But when you are birthed, the reason you cry is because you're separated and you forgot Torah. And now you're on the quest of mitzvah, being a son of or daughter of Torah, right? You're back to learn the law again. And I think it's interesting. So let's go back to the womb. The moment it happens, God does something incredible. It's the miracle of life. And this is, let's go further in the rabbi teaching, and then I'm going to give you guys a chance to comment, okay? So let me lay a foundation. As Westerners, we traditionally split the 10 Commandments 6 and 4. But as Jews, as Easterners, they don't. It's 5 and 5. The 5th commandment is a direct representation of your relationship with God, not your relationship with people. Even though it says honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, right? That's what Paul went on to add. Honor, so that your days will be long on the earth. But the Jews believe your most God-like attribute is God endowed you with the power to create life. But because we're over-sexualized, we're so flippant about it, we don't hold it to the value that it is. To the value that it is. I hope everybody caught that. And so there's a godlike creation there that he endowed, that he gave to us, and we need to treat it with more respect and responsibility. And I'm so happy you talked about it, but you are right. David says he knew me. Even Jeremiah said he knew me before I was formed. And so I just thought you did a good job. But why is the church so scared to talk about their pro-life stance? Now you got churches out there, they're not pro-life, they're pro-choice. I don't even understand that.
Yeah, I almost sent it to you guys. Man, I think I saw 2 female rabbis, Chinese sisters that call themselves rabbis, who are pro-choice, and another Christian who says she says she's a Christian and says she's pro-choice, and that God's on my side. I don't want to say that people aren't believers because I don't know their hearts.
Sure.
But you are not a believer if you are pro-choice, period. You are not reading your Bible. Either you're extremely ignorant or you're not a believer, because you can't hold that view and be a Christian. You can't be, because God, we see it clearly in Scripture. You can't have that view. It doesn't work. It doesn't add up. You're preaching a totally different gospel. If you're a Christian, you believe in life. You believe that God forms that life and that they're made in the image of God. Because if you don't believe that, you can say we can go and kill anyone because it doesn't matter if they're made in the image of God. Because that's the only way you have value. That is the only thing that gives you value. Law doesn't give you value. Feeling doesn't give you value. Being made in the image of God gives you value, period.
Let me segue real quick. Let me look into the camera and say this. My heart goes out to you, and I'm talking primarily to the women. You may be watching this podcast, and we're touching on a very sensitive subject, and I don't want to be misconstrued or remiss by not taking in your feelings into consideration. Some of you out there, you may have had an abortion, and I want you to know you're not judged. You're not judged here. You're not judged by God. He loves you. He cares for you. He wants best for you. I don't want you to feel like we're just as men arguing flippantly about this with no care or concern for your feelings. I want you to know that there's forgiveness in Christ. We just hold to the biblical stance and the biblical values. And by the way, you talked about Rabbi Wobbly, or I didn't, you nod your head. He would tell you as a good Jew, the highest priority is protect life. The highest priority is protect life. It's always to protect life. And that's traditional and oral tradition of rabbinic teachings. But I just want to minister to you right now. And there might be some guys watching, and I know I was one of them, who, had no problem when I was in the world talking to my girlfriend or whoever about getting an abortion. And I just want you to know there's healing for us too. And I just want you to know that you're forgiven, you're loved, you're cared for. So I don't want you to think like we're just talking as a bunch of like, ogres that we have no care or concern. We understand that was a hard decision. And that was a decision that you have to live with. But I want you to know you could be freed from that. You could be forgiven for that, because that's what Jesus Christ does. Yeah. And we just want to share with you, though, a biblical perspective. You said it so well. It's got to be a biblical perspective, a biblical worldview. And that's all we're trying to preach here. But in the midst of that, part of the biblical worldview is there is grace and there is mercy at the cross. And I think that's so important to understand, too, and that God is here to restore. So, yeah. But Mike, you talk about it too. You were on the other side at one time, and the worldview and all that. What changed you? Because Deshaun, I appreciate you saying that. I'm not going to judge anybody's spiritual walk, right? But we're saying if you are a believer, you have to hold a certain biblical worldview. So Mike, how did your worldview change then? What changed Mike Cook?
I think it was the first ultrasound I saw of my daughter.
Okay.
And it's just like a little star, and they're like, and you could the tech was like, oh, you could see the heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
And so then she had what they were concerned about her heart, so we were going to an ultrasound every other week for the entire pregnancy.
Wow, you got to see her grow.
So we got to see her grow, and so I think the first ultrasound was somewhere like 10 weeks or something like that. And so from 10 weeks on, I got to see the progression of my daughter. And I think by that time in my faith, I was at a place where I didn't agree with abortion. Because prior to that, like growing up in Portland, especially growing up in the environment that I did, like as far as like my school and stuff, I mean, birth control, like they had a room. Right? It wasn't the nurse's room. It was like this separate room. And you could go in there, you watch a video, they give you a brown bag full of condoms. And they basically say, go do your thing.
After high school?
High school. Mm-hmm. Down the hallway. I went. All you watch.
Deshaun's like, what high school was that again?
No. Don't take my kids to Portland.
So we're not shouting out Portland. That's what we're not doing. Yeah.
Hey, you see your buddy come out of the room with the brown bag. You were like, all right, I know what's in the brown bag. And then that's just what they did. And then the day after pill, like all that stuff. And so I think that as I progressed in my faith, I think I got to a place where I was like, yeah, I don't agree with abortion anymore, but it really hadn't taken home for me.
Sure.
Until I saw the first ultrasound. And then after that point, I was like, how could anybody ever deny that this is life? Or like, what's the day that it goes from being like whatever their scientific term for the child is, to being from that to being a life?
It's a good question.
It's like, so mom went to bed Thursday and it's this scientific term and woke up Friday and then now it's a baby.
Right.
So like what changes?
Right.
No, it's from the very beginning. And so being able to see my daughter's progression in the womb through the ultrasound changed my life forever. I would never look at abortion like that the same.
Wow. Bill.
Yeah.
Bill, you were on the outside looking into.
Yeah,
talk to us.
But I actually had this pro-life view before I was saved.
Oh, really?
Okay. For me, it's very simple, and it's leaning towards what Mike just said: is the baby a life or not, right? And there's no way scientifically that I can look at what we can see today with ultrasounds, the heartbeat, everything, and not look at the baby and see that that's a life. And so whatever else happens after that, whether it's financially, whether it's hardships, whether the father's not going to be around. None of that matters, because this is a life and we have to protect it. And so That's how I see it. And then secondly, I'll say I'm glad you brought up the what you were talking about before about women. We don't want to feel like we're shaming anybody and talking down to anybody. And that's important, but it's important to talk about it. And because I think there's been lies that's been told to you as a woman that says that this is not a baby, it's not a human life, that it's just cells. And so when that decision is made, you're making that decision based on that.
Yeah.
And there's been lies for decades that's been told on that. And not only that, and maybe the baby's father pressured you into it too. That's important, fellas. We're not
No,
you
no,
know,
you're
innocent
not
of any of
innocent.
this.
No, not at all.
Not at all of this. And so the men need to step up. The men need to step up and say, I'm going to be there for through this tough times and be there for the baby.
I'm
And so-
100% with that.
And so the men have a part in this too. And so it's not just solely the women's decision on that. And so
No, and Bill, that brings up a very good. That's solid, man. You know, I feel like men have gotten away with it, right? Because we're not the ones that end up pregnant. You know, I don't know about you guys, but I remember growing up, and the first thing all the dudes always say, "That ain't my baby. That ain't my baby." Yeah. It's like, bro, you were with her. I mean, like she's telling. I mean, anyway, I don't want to get too. Yeah, we ain't gonna go all the way there, right there. But I want to say something too. My heart, and hopefully, and if I don't do a good job communicating this from the pulpit at our church, I need to do it now. But my heart goes out to the moms, the single moms who are out there grinding and struggling. My heart goes out to the moms who've been put in bad situations, had to make these tough decisions. And I just want you, I love you, and I'm not mad at you. I know God ain't mad at you, but also to the women who were with an abusive person, you know, and something happened there. And I just want you to know that you're loved here. You're cared for. We want God's best for you. We want to be the hands and feet of Christ. And I did say this a long time ago. We'll never be the heart of the church because that's Jesus, right? Just like we'll never be the head, right? Because that's Jesus. But we're going to pray for his heart, that we could have it, right? That we could feel what Jesus feels. And we just want to love you in the kingdom. And we understand that transformation only happens when you're a part of the body and you're a part of the kingdom. So we just want you to know that we love you. We're not mad at you. We just want to help restore you. We want to help to heal your broken heart. That's what we want to do. So I want to bring up another subject that you did touch on a little bit too. And let's talk a little bit about that, which was critical race theory. Or you talked about the what happened over at Bullard High and about, you know, all this stuff that's taking place. And you said that your parents really gave you a good identity. But you talked about, and you brought up a story where the person said, hey, you need to tell that to the, I think you said young lady or something. Mm-hmm. But tell us again about that story and tell us more about your heart and where you're at. Because I know for me, I can speak for myself on, you know, being raised by my mom and how it was in my environment. But I want to hear your story again.
Yeah, I was talking to someone, they were a teacher, and they were talking about what happened at Bullard, about someone wrapping their head, looking like a KKK member. And then they're like, you know, kids at school got mad, marched down to downtown. And I was telling her, it was like, they can't stop you from getting good grades. Like, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. They can't affect you in that way. Like, what's the big deal? And she told me a story about, you know, a young girl was in the bathroom. She saw Black Lives Doesn't Matter, you know, young black girl, and she's in her classroom crying. She was like, well, you come tell her that when she's in my classroom crying. What are you going to do now? And they hit me, and I understood. I'm like, wow, okay, yeah. I ain't going to say that to her at that moment. Like, get over it, big deal. Like, she's hurting in that moment, and
right.
Me saying that doesn't matter. And I step back, and I look back and just realize that I have a secure identity of who I am. One, because who my parents tell me that I am, and I have people around to support me, and because I know who God created me to be. So whatever words you have to say doesn't override what God told me already.
That's so good.
But people don't have that, and I have to be sensitive to that, to love on people and meet them where they're at, and encourage them and give them words they maybe never heard before. Because there's kids at school that her parents are telling them they're worthless too. So they come
Absolutely.
and see that, so they have no one telling them that they're actually worth something. And all society is telling them something different. So I got to make sure I'm careful in that.
So what I'm not hearing you say is you're not saying that there aren't prejudiced people out there.
Yeah, there definitely is. There's people out there.
And I think it's important that we touch on that. Like as a church, we believe that there are prejudiced people out there. There's even racist people out there. Mm-hmm. We just don't consider every situation, every circumstance, prejudice or racism.
Yeah. And even if it is, it's like, does that affect me? Do I need to be... I think there has to be some type of change, but I can't always let it destroy my life.
Correct.
It just cripples me. It's like, no, I can keep moving forward, and that's not an excuse for me. But for some people, it might, because they have no one else or anything else tell me anything different.
That's so good. You know what's interesting is, and then Bill, Mike, and you get to chime in on this too, because you can't. There are people who are prejudiced against white people, so we're gonna let you. We're just gonna make you chime in last.
Like
That's
what?
all.
Yeah.
Like
We're
what?
just gonna make you chime in last.
I'll tell you, all those people who make those packs of paper and they leave out the white paper.
Oh my gosh, that was funny
that was
last
an
week.
inside
I bought
joke.
cardstock. You know what was missing? White. I just want to
Yeah.
share. I can't tell you how many times I've been with my wife and kids at a Costco, at a Home Depot, or you just name a store, and people will walk right up to me and act like I work there. Like, it is just so funny. And I just want to look in the camera and tell everybody, I'm cool with it. I'm going to go along with it. I remember being at Home Depot with Carlos, and they came right up to me, and they're like, hey, look at this line. Do you think you can open up? Because this line is really long. And Carlos looked at me, and he starts laughing. And so I said, you know what? You're right. These lines are long. I'm going to call somebody up. And all I did was go up to an employee and go, you need to open up your line. This is long. And they opened up. And it was the funniest thing ever. But I'm just like, that's me. I've loaded people's beds and furniture at Costco. I've taken down stuff at Lowe's. I just think it's funny. Now, I don't let it get to me. You're right. Because it will not stop me from moving forward in the direction God has me going. And I didn't have a strong identity and culture like you did, but I knew when I came into the kingdom, I'm a kingdom kid first. I'm a child of the kingdom of God. So therefore, I can do what He calls me to do. And I've suffered more prejudices inside the church than I did outside the church. Just like you said it, just like last week, State of the City, and Miguel, that's their posse. It's like, bro, you're supposed to be about racial equity. Why would you call us a posse? You might as well just call us a bunch of thugs. Oh, that's right. You already have. You know what I mean? It's like you're the one trying to promote over here about racial equality, but you're the one who's race shaming right now. And I just think that's interesting. But you're right. You can't let it get to you. Bill, I know you've probably suffered your own stuff here.
I'll say I've been on both sides where
the
people have been prejudiced towards me, and then I've made assumptions before too.
Oh,
let's be honest, right? And so.
Well, no, you can be honest. We love for you to
wait,
be
wait.
honest.
Bill? Like what, Bill?
Yeah. Well, because
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just joking.
I was under the impression that only white people are racist. So-
Remember?
he's that
We learned that a couple episodes ago.
So that's why he's been on both sides?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like-
It's the white side. That's
my white side made this judgment, right? To where you said you've been at Costco, you've been approached.
Right.
I was biking with my wife. Right.
That was
in
the
that
white side
neighborhood.
for sure. You biking, all right.
In Northwest Fresno.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you white.
Okay.
Yep.
And I see this dad and his son, hat, working on a yard. He's redoing the yard. And I was thinking about redoing my yard, and I approached him. Hey, guys, I live right up the street. I would love for you to come over. My wife is shaking her head right now. There you come over. You guys are doing a great job. I want a quote for my yard. Okay.
Hey, did you at least?
I'm gonna get beat up, guys, at church.
Hey, did you ask in English?
I did. It was
Okay,
in
all right.
English, and they looked at each other and go, "Hey, we live here, like this is our yard." And I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Okay, so for the record, looking in the camera, they were Mexican,
They
weren't
were
they?
Mexican.
Okay, but also look at the cameras. Your wife's Mexican,
My
right?
wife is Mexican.
So Bill was ready for her to translate if it didn't go well the first time.
Hey, we got this. We'll get a good deal.
And so what my point was, I've been on the other side where I made assumptions before, but I think it ties into how we look at ourselves. Like, who told you that? Your title of your sermon yesterday was perfect. Who's telling you that you're less than, right? What are you listening to? And maybe today society is telling you if you're a minority, you're at a disadvantage,
Right.
And then you start believing this lie. That not saying that there aren't hurdles you're going to have to go through, but then you start telling yourself that, hey, man, maybe I can accomplish this because I am a minority, because I'm Asian, because I'm this. And so you see this, you start living your life that way, and then you start telling somebody else, and then it snowballs, right? Now it's your kids, now it's your family that start believing that you can't become something because of your race. And so to me, it's got to start within yourself, right? Who my identity is in. It's in God. What does God tell me I am? And then also believe in that for myself too. So
What about you, Mike? Go ahead.
What do you want me to talk about?
Go ahead. Just share what's on your heart, man. White is a color. Go ahead and share what's on your heart.
I think, Bill, you said it starts with us, like within ourselves. I think that's true. But looking back to how I grew up and the people I grew up around, I think it also starts with the men.
Oh, come on.
And as I get to be around Deshaun a lot, and hearing his message yesterday and talking about his identity, I just thought about his dad so much, and about how having a strong male in the house taking that rightful role and imparting that identity is so crucial.
Changes the game.
It's so crucial. So, yes, there is this racial aspect that I'm not ignoring at all. But, I look at his relationship with his dad and I envy it. And I'm like, that is so awesome. I want to be like what his dad was for him and his brothers and his sisters. Like, I want to be that for my kids.
Absolutely.
And so that they all are strong. And if you meet his siblings, they are very much confident, strong.
All successful.
Successful, have beautiful families, right? And we look to his mom and his dad for doing that. And so although it does start within us, right, it's affirmed by those who raise us.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, we talk about being the church, and sometimes we do like Mother's Day and Father's Day, and people feel like they're left out. I don't have kids that are biologically mine, and it's like I think about the church, like that's how the church steps in.
That's it.
Men being men and helping other young men growing up, and women being women and helping them affirm their identities. And so whether you have biological kids or you don't have biological kids, you can play that role for somebody in their lives. And I know I had men that strategically came along in my life at really crucial times, who actually were all black, except for one. And they helped affirm my identity as a man. Like, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for identity as a man growing up. And so if we're talking about race, yeah, for sure. I've had times where I've seen racism against white people. Like, I've seen people get knocked out just because they're white walking to school. I've seen kids get jacked just because they're white. And so I've seen racism. Now, we talk about systemic racism and that types of things, then we would talk a little bit different. But I've seen racism from the sense of, my friends and the way that they were treated when we would go out of town and play baseball games compared to the way I was treated.
Absolutely.
And different things like that. And so racism definitely is real, but we're talking about identity. I think it really goes back to the role models in our lives.
I think that's so good, and I want to delineate just for a second too between prejudices and having a prejudice and being a racist. I think all of us have prejudices, and it's normally towards other cultures, and I know I have mine. I know I've openly admitted to you guys before, like I struggle. My struggle has always been with white older men, because those have been the people who have been the hardest on me. Whether it was a pastor or something of that nature, some boss or authority figure, right? And so I always get nervous, right? I still get like I'm in the principal's office or whatever. And so I know that's systemic. I get that. And I try to tell everybody all the time, it's hard being a big guy, but also being Hispanic, right? Being Mexican, and you walk into a room full of all white men, because they don't know what to do with you. They automatically assume you speak Spanish, and I don't. And then they want to stick you with the Spanish community over here, and it's like, dude, I can't go over there. I don't speak Spanish. And so you really start to feel that awkward tension, right?
Yeah.
So I realize these things, and I've had to work through that, right? I've had to work through the fact that these older white men have let me down, and it's kind of pricked my heart, and I've had to work through that and work through forgiveness. I definitely feel more comfortable in a room that's any ethnicity other than all white men, and I've had to work through that. And I realize that's been my struggle. But in the same breath, I also have been around white men who've been prejudiced but not racist. And what I mean by that is they've prejudged. They see a group of Mexicans walking by, and they may think, okay, that might be some type of gang, or they see a group of black men and might think they're going to get mugged. Or we've seen it. You could go in the store. We've seen it when we went in stores. You come in as a group of 4 guys, and the security's kind of looking around like, what are these guys going to do, right? So I realized that there are prejudices. Yeah. We all have them. But then I realized there are racist people. I've been pulled over by racist cops, right? They try to say wrong place, wrong time. No, you're a racist. That's what you are. And you've already had it in your mind that I'm something that I'm not, because I'm not, trust me. And so I've seen the difference too. But if you allow that to hinder you, and if that really gets your goat, you will not go far in life, because there are so many good people out there. There are so many solid people out there. Yeah. Just as I've been castigated in the church, I've been welcomed in the church. I've been loved on in the church. I've been brought in as a son in the church. One of my greatest mentors is an older white man, Ron Pinkston. He has done nothing but love me and has went over and above. Yeah. So it's funny how the body of Christ works like that, right? It's interesting. And so if you allow that to be a wound in your life, you'll never get the healing you need. And that's what I always try to tell people. And so I just want everybody to be encouraged right now. As a church, we are not saying there's not systemic racism. But trust me, if anybody knows, I get it. I get it. But what I'm telling everybody is that's not kingdom. And God is going to set you before kings. Then you got to keep moving forward. And you got to find you a tribe who believes in you. You got to find you a tribe who's going to encourage you, who's going to correct you and lift you up. You might just need to get some new friends, is what you need to do, because you are going to be the sum total of the closest people you hang out with. And so that's what I say. But people look at us and they go, man, we watch your podcast. You guys have such great chemistry. It's because we spend so much time together. And we all have the same goals. We all have the same goals. We want to be successful in what we do. We want to be a man faithful to one woman, and we want to raise great kids. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's why we're able to do this. Okay, so segueing into something that we got to close out with, because we found out some news. This is just going to get awkward, and we're going to be there to see it happen.
Uh-oh.
Apparently Thursday, and we got to check the city council notes again, but apparently Thursday is going to be Doug Sloan Day at the city.
Oh, they gonna kick him out the door or what?
So if you guys don't know, Doug Sloan is the city attorney who just quit.
Nelson gonna give him a plaque that says, "Don't
And
let the door
Nelson-
hit you," or what?
I extorted you. So Nelson Esparza.
Did you say he extorted him?
is extorted. It's called extortion.
Oh, I thought
correct.
you said escorting him out.
No, I didn't.
Allegedly.
He allegedly.
Don't get sued. Allegedly.
He allegedly
Yeah,
extorted.
you gotta
him.
say allegedly.
But Doug Sloan said he did.
Allegedly.
No, allegedly, Doug Sloan is saying.
Oh,
that is
okay. So I thought
So
it was
allegedly,
believe all
they're
lawyers.
all not all dirty
Believe all lawyers. I thought it was
politicians.
believe all lawyers. I don't get it. I thought it was believe all lawyers. So apparently, my phone. That's my timer telling me we need to shut up now.
That's your attorney.
No, that's not my attorney. Anthony, say allegedly. Say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Okay. Anyway. Okay. Allegedly, the president Nelson Esparza extorted the city attorney, who's dipped out. Right, he's gone. He's leaving Santa Monica, though. I ain't mad at you. Man, I would love to go to Santa Monica, make more money, sit on the beach, just answer emails. I'm in. And so, okay. So this Thursday is supposed to be Doug Sloan Day. And Nelson has got to present him with a plaque stating that we recognize this Thursday as Doug Sloan Day. Anybody just want to go with the popcorn? How many of you just mimosas out there? How many just like the cheese, man? You just want the popcorn?
What's the line on whether or not he's gonna have to phone in that day? Is Nelson Nelson gonna be there?
Bradfield's gonna give it to
Are we doing this? I'm down. I'll buy lunch. I'll buy lunch if I'm wrong. Okay, let's all pick somebody. So Deshaun is going on record right now saying Bradfield. No, you got to pick one. I'm taking Corbassi. Shout out to Corbassi running against Esmeralda. Come on, Corbassi.
It's like we picking horses right now.
No, we're not picking horses. I'm going with Corbassi's going to give the award. I'm going, and you're going with Bradfield? That's a good one. Who are you going for?
I'll go with Vice President Maxwell.
Oh, but we don't want to pick off scabs. Remember, we're going to pick off scabs.
It's because they're
Maxwell,
both
Vice
white.
President.
It's because they're both white.
Maxwell's
Here,
my
brother.
Yeah, I'm here for you, brother.
pick. What's your pick, Mike?
What do you got, Mike? What do you got?
Miguel, all day. He wants to
Miguel?
shine. Anytime there's shine, Miguel.
Oh,
He wants
man.
to
He's
shine.
going Miguel to give the award?
Miguel gonna give him the award. It's supposed to be somebody else.
Luis,
but as they walk down, Miguel's gonna steal the award and say, "This was for you. I
Luis,
I
lo
made this
siento,
with my
amigo."
hands this morning."
I feel bad for Luis. Nobody said his name. Lo siento, amigo. But I'm, so maybe Luis does it, but I think you're right. It's going to be somebody else. I'm just going because I want to see how this plays out. This is pretty awkward.
They're all fake, dude.
Allegedly, we have
like,
some extortion going on. Allegedly, even though it was confirmed by the person who was the victim of the extortion, he said it was extortion, but it's still allegedly. But
you're innocent until proven guilty. When you have money, you guilty until
I
you're
was gonna
guilty
say,
if
'cause
you
that-
don't have money.
I was guilty. They didn't give me a chance for innocence. You know what I mean? Okay. So only if you have money. So I'm going to go. I want to encourage everybody. We're going to be talking a little bit more about politics because everybody should have got their mail-in ballot or you're going to go vote. And we think it's really important that you vote biblical perspectives, that you just pray about who you should vote for. If you already ask us, we're going to say there needs to be a change, right? In order for things to stay if you want things to stay the same, then don't vote for change. But if you want things to change, then don't vote the same. And so we want to encourage everybody to make sure you vote different. It's affecting all churches. I think the church has an opportunity to rise up and do the right thing and make their presence known. So I want to encourage everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Not Offended podcast.
We offended someone today.
What was that?
We offended somebody today.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
So yeah, someone will be offended.
Well, what did we say? I don't.
I was trying to close out the
It was-
podcast, so
It was a
it
whole-
just hit you.
It was a whole lot of politics.
There was.
Someone's gonna be offended. I don't know what.
That's all right though. We're speaking
but
truth.
expect some phone calls, some text messages. Something gonna happen today.
Okay, so the bishop is now a prophet. So he's. But you know what? I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Not Offended podcast. Right? Do us a favor, comment, share this link, let everybody know what's going on. Trust me, what we talked about today was good, despite Deshaun feeling like it wasn't, or somebody's getting offended.
I
It
feel
was-
good. I don't.
Somebody's
feel
in
great.
trouble.
You
Somebody's in
said
trouble.
every week I say something. I didn't say anything this week.
You were well behaved, Mike Cook, the token. Yes, you were. So thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys. If you're not doing anything this weekend, we would love to see you at the Historic Tower Theater. Our services at 9 a.m. and 11. Come in and be blessed. Shout out to all the people going to get baptized on Sunday. We love you. God bless you guys. We're out. Peace.